All right. Should we get started?
Yes. Hello. Did you hear how important sprockets are? And getting your chain put on correctly? Did you hear?
No, I didn't.
Somebody didn't put Tyler O'Hara's chain on right in the bagger class today.
Oh boy.
And I can make light of it because he's okay, but there's like this growing trend across the motorcycle community to see who can outdo Marc Marquez in the high side department.
Well, I guess with that news, should we roll the intro?
Not yet. How are you doing today?
I wanted to roll the intro.
Okay. Roll the intro.
Yesterday at one point, I was in sixth.
Are we back?
Oh, this hat hurts my head. And we're back.
We're back and live, and I'm doing great. It's a great day. Kind of.
Man, that was like a cliffhanger rolling into the intro. Make sure you was okay.
Yeah, no, I really threw everyone off with my. I wanted to roll the intro.
So,
But
fortunately, unfortunately, we're recording just a little bit earlier than normal this week.
it is true. It is Saturday, not Sunday. We haven't caught the Sunday events.
Yeah, but we've still got a lot of racing. Saturday was a busy day.
That is true. That is true. I will say, just to break the water on the MotoGP front, is kind of a boring day. I don't know. I didn't watch qualifying because, well, they're in Italy, so I'll either wake up and watch the race live or wake up super early, watch qualifying first. But after you watch the race, there's no point in watching qualifying. So,
That's partially fair. I watched qualifying and then went to work.
on a Saturday?
No,
How dare you?
Just putting my own bike back together.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I did a little bit of that today myself, but not my own bike.
You'll be excited. I became a member of. Have you heard of CrashedToys.com?
I have heard of CrashToys.com. I have perused that website a couple times. I thought about buying a newer Gixxer from there once or twice.
Well, I'm intrigued, yet irritated, yet let me explain. So I signed up for CrashToys.com, became a member.
How many bids do you already have in?
A lot, but no. So that's why I'm irritated.
Uh-huh.
It's $99 a year.
Okay. Yep.
Which is fine for a standard membership.
Right.
After I paid the $99, then I got in there and realized there's not that much I can bid on without having a license to buy salvage vehicles.
Yeah. Hold up. What?
So a lot of them are at auctions. So you need to be you need to have your license, like a used car dealer license, so that you can purchase from the auctions. They don't just let anybody buy a car at an auction.
Well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. So then it brings up these options to go get brokers to bid on them for you.
Which costs you more money, I assume?
I would assume they'll take a cut at least.
Yeah.
So, but man, there's a lot of people out there that like to wreck their BMW before the first 1,000 miles get turned.
Crazy, isn't that?
Yeah.
That's where all those statistics come from. Did you know that a single male under the age of 25 is likely to die within the first 6 months of owning a sport bike?
That's a wives' tale.
That's a statistic. I don't know if it's true anymore, but it was back in the day.
Well, I mean, I've heard said statistics, but I'm on a kind of a, not keeping this motorcycle. My mind was a little bit blown just yesterday on a statistic.
Oh, and what was that?
Maybe not a statistic, but a statement. How many times have you heard over the years that the Japanese did not invade the United States because it was stated that there was a gun behind every blade of grass?
I don't think I've ever heard that before, no.
Well, I've heard it a million times. Just assumed it was gospel.
Okay.
So it came up on something, and I started doing a little research, and there's no verification that was ever said. There's no documentation. It's just something people have always said.
Right.
I mean, it's a true statement.
Sure.
True statement, but no verification. But back to motorcycles. Yeah, I'm watching. So you can set it up. It's pretty cool. You can set it up so it, like, our local want ads. It'll bring up bikes closest to you.
Mm-hmm.
And got my eye on one in Ogden. Got my eye on a couple in Colorado.
There you go. That's not bad. Well, hey, if you
Albuquerque,
do
New
if you do
Mexico.
see a newer, like post 2017 Gixxer 1000, yeah, keep me in mind. I guess I don't know. Actually, I've been tossing this around. I think you and I both know that due to the way that my work schedule works out, racing isn't necessarily super doable, just due to the consistency.
But it will be in the future.
It will be. And I was thinking about that. I was like, taking the 750 at that point and making that a track race bike, just I don't know if that really makes sense.
Why? Elaborate.
Well, I don't know. And it'll depend a lot on the next few years and how much I end up kind of. Because I'm thinking maybe I just start doing little things here and there to get it closer and closer to race ready, so that by the time that time hits, it's pretty much just ready to go, and it's not like a huge crush over one winter, right? But I was just thinking about it. I was like, it's a 2008, and it's a 750, which puts you in some really weird classes because most places are broken up, I think, by 600, right? 600 and below or 600 and above. So I'd be racing thousands all over the place, which, I mean, we all know she's an S1000 killer, but I don't know if she actually is. So
Oh my gosh! Don't get me going this early on. I mean, how long is this thing gonna be?
what?
We got a date coming up, and I ain't taking your crap anymore.
Well, okay, on that front, you got brand new tires, Dunlop
As do you.
R7s,
As do
and Tech
you.
Slicks. No, I don't.
They're coming.
Yeah, I'm not putting them on. Saving those for Arizona. And then you've got.
So let me do the first round. You sit out, and then we'll just call it square.
I mean, I'm not like worried about new versus old tires. I do kind of want to put them on because it's a new aspect ratio, and that's going to make a difference. I should be able to feel that difference. I'm kind of excited about that. And then, I just threw new sprockets on your bike. If you haven't seen that video, we'll have a link up above. But yeah, man, it should be a rocket. I have not torqued down your rear yet, and the reason for that is because you're gonna set your own freaking chain tension. Because there's nothing in the world that I hate more than setting chain tension on a bike.
Why?
I don't know. I actually like every time I do it, I set the tension with the little tensioners, and then I go torque the freaking bolt, and it somehow moves the axle back as I do it. And I've tried like positioning my wrench every which way, but somehow it tightens the chain up more when I tighten the axle nut. So I always like try it twice, and both of those times it ends up too tight. And then I try it once, and it's like way too loose. And then finally I get it like just right. So
So I was making jokes before my Beamer shelled its nuts.
mm-hmm.
I was making jokes because I went through tech twice and had, for race day tech, and had them tell me, yeah, your chain's pretty tight.
Yeah.
You should probably loosen that up a little bit. And Anthony actually was making fun of me. He says, your chain is too tight. You should probably loosen that up a little bit. I loosened it up right before the round.
And then it blew up.
And then it blew up. So the chain might have been the only thing holding it together.
That's funny. I was actually kind of laughing about that because I've had very similar, right? And I'll be honest, I've never gone out and actually measured but they say an inch to an inch and a half, right, of play in your chain. And I've never gone out and actually measured it, but I've sat there and flipped it up and down, and it's like, well, it looks like 3 inches, but we'll call it good. And then I go and they're like, just watch that chain. It's a little tight every time. Like that's like every time you go, someone's like, the chain might be a little tight. You just, just watch it when you're hitting those bumps in this blah turn. I had the same thing on the Aprilia, actually. I took the Aprilia, but he's like, just watch that chain, It's like, what? Okay, whatever. And then I was looking at my book this weekend while I was changing out your sprockets, and it's got the chain tension, and it says 0.8 to 1.2 inches of movement. And I was like sitting there flipping my chain on my 08, and I was like, that's like definitely 2 inches from bottom to top, right? I'm like, that's not, but I've been told that's too tight. And then I went and played with yours, which actually looked like an inch, and it just felt like taut. And I was like, there's no way that's good. Like, that's not going to work. That's too tight. So kind of interesting. And I know they say, well, on the, track tightness is different than street tightness. I've heard that thrown around a lot. So that's an interesting thought. And I know why. Also, the thing that I forgot while I was doing it, 0.8 to 1.2, but when you sit on your bike, that should, I believe, tighten it up.
Yes.
So that brings in the question,
more for me than you.
Yeah, but am I only ever looking at it while I'm off the bike and not taking that into effect?
They usually put both measurements in there. One with a rider, one without.
Interesting. I'll have to take another look at the book. I just remember seeing 0.8 and 1.2, but I guess I didn't look to see if that was... Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, your bike is now re-geared down 1, up 2, still 525. But if you watch that video between then and now, or I'll just tell you, the stock front sprocket on a Gixxer 750, I didn't know this because when I've changed mine out on mine, it already had aftermarket, has this like weird kind of chain carrier thing. So it's got the sprocket and then it goes like wider around the sprocket, and it's got this little it's got little grooves in it, like little round grooves for the chain to sit in. Just like a chain guide, but it's on the sprocket. I don't know. It's kind of weird. The new sprocket that I put in doesn't have that, so it's half as wide, and it's got holes drilled in it, so it's lighter. The rear, probably about the same weight.
Well, I coincidentally just put a 520 chain on the 22 BMW.
Re-geared?
Yep, down one in the front, stayed the same in the back for now. But
overstock. Okay.
I have bought the corresponding sprockets, even color coded them so that I could tell which one was a 45, which one was a 46. I've got extras. I'm a racer now. I got to have extra parts in the box.
You know, I thought about taking different sprockets around with me on carriers. And this brings up, I was thinking this too. While I was changing your sprockets, I was laughing because I was like, yeah, you know, I've been told, read on plenty of forums, been told before, if you're going to change your sprockets, change your chain, and vice versa, because they wear together, blah, 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 whatever, right? How often or when have you ever taken your rear tire out, taken the sprocket off, and marked it before you took it off to make sure it goes back on the same tooth?
Never.
Never. Not once. Ain't no one doing that. There ain't no time for that. There's no point. I think that's a myth. I do agree that a worn down sprocket could wear a chain faster, but I've also heard people say that, like, well, if you go down in the back, it's less difference on the chain teeth. Vice going on the front, you'll have less wear, something, blah, blah. I like just this huge argument on a forum about why you should change the back over the front. I was like, that is ridiculous. Like, because I was looking for actual evidence of, like, do you get more torque feeling out of one vice the other? Really, all I could find was a bunch of old dudes arguing about chain wear.
Hey, old engineer dudes.
Old dudes.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. Old, like way out there.
Well, let's talk about some racing.
Racing. All right, we can talk about racing. Can we get golden underpants out of the way real quick?
Yeah.
So I was laughing this weekend because the commentators finally admitted to, I think, what we've been saying all along. I don't know if you caught it, but during free practice or something, I think it was just practice 1, they were talking about Marc Marquez and where he's going to go and all this, and they talked to the HRC guy, whoever it was. I forget his name. Anyway, Simon was down in the pits with
Simon Crafar with Pooj.
Yeah, with Pooj. And, you know, he's like, have you heard anything about Marc? Is Marc staying with you guys, or, you know, where's he going? And he's like, I don't know, but he has a contract with us next year. He hasn't told me anything. We're like, well, have you guys like looked around to see who you would choose if he did leave next year? The guy's just like, no, he has a contract with us next year and hasn't said anything. So no, we're hoping he stays here. If not, then we don't know what we're going to do because we're planning on him staying here because he has a contract and he hasn't said anything. So anyway, there was that discussion, and then they were talking about it, and they're like, you know, they finally cracked into what I've been thinking all along, and I don't know if we've really mentioned it here, but he's had his name painted over all the bikes, right? Everyone's talking about everywhere he's going to go. He's going to go here. He's going to go here. You can hop on YouTube and find 30 different videos about Marc Marquez, and they'll even have him in the new leathers and all that crap, right? All of that's fake. I don't know where he's going yet. No one does because he hasn't announced it. He hasn't even told his own team anything. Most likely, if you're asking for my opinion, this is purely opinion, so we're not spreading false information, he's going to stay right at Honda because he hasn't said anything to them. He still has a contract next year. But that's just opinion. The funny part is that who are we talking about right now?
Marc Marquez.
Marc Marquez. Who has everyone been talking about for the past months? Marc Marquez. Who has been doing absolutely terrible this season? The commentators literally said it. They said, you know, we've been talking a lot about a guy that's been sitting in 20th place. Actually, he was sitting in 20th place right at that moment. He's like, we're talking a lot about a dude that's sitting here in 20th place. So it kind of like clicked in my head that riders get paid a lot of money by their sponsors. And in order to keep their sponsors, they have to keep the camera time. So their sponsors get the camera time, right? Because if you are a terrible rider, you're never going to be on the front, or you're never going to be in the camera, right? Because you're never going to be up front. The camera's going to be on the front. So you're not going to get that time. And the sponsors are going to drop you because they're like, yeah, well, I've never seen me on TV because you're never on TV. So Marc Marquez being not so good this year, be it because of his bike, because of whatever, who knows, who cares? That's not what we're talking about right now. Has possibly let all these rumors just kind of float and fly and spread and whatever, purely to keep his camera time really high and to keep his name all over everything. And then I was laughing because I pulled up MotoGP.com, as I do for most of our podcasts, and on the front page, the bike clearly in the middle of the front page is Marc Marquez. Like literally the main shot. It's got Marc, Aleix, and Alex Marquez right behind it. But it's like you could have picked any other picture from the race. Those bikes aren't really that spread out in the race. And who's in the middle? It's Marc Marquez. So anyway.
So to tag on to that, it is my opinion that he's still got it. He can still ride a bike.
Okay.
But in all honesty, that's just an opinion. That's just a feeling, because you take away a couple moments this year, he hasn't done anything that if he wasn't Marc Marquez would make you think that.
That's true. That's true. He has fallen back to, I mean, he had his like super downsides, which if you just kind of delete those out, he would appear to be a very average.
I make the same argument with Joan Mir, because Joan Mir obviously wants out of there. He wants to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can, for him, I would think you could have that strong opinion that he obviously has of wanting to get out.
Yeah.
But you would think you still need to showcase that you can ride a bike.
Yeah.
Because if I'm watching that, I mean, you're trying to live off a championship you won 2 years ago that has been clouded more and more as the weeks go by.
Yeah, no one really remembers. Like, it's almost rare that, you know, they say when they're talking about riders, they try and give them credit where they can. It seems like they'll be talking about Quartararo. They'll be like, yeah, 2 years ago, world champion Quartararo, blah, 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 blah. 8-time world champion Marc Marquez, 9-time world champion Valentino Rossi, current world champion Pecco Bagnaia, Danny Pedrosa, multiple-time world champion Danny Pedrosa, retired in 17. He's back, you know, whatever, right? If you have a world champion, they're bringing that up. With Joan Mir, it's like kind of rare. They almost have to like remember themselves and be like, you know, it's crazy. You wouldn't have thought this guy had won a world championship a year, 2 years, 3 years ago, whatever it was now. You're like, yeah, well, weird.
Well,
weird how that works.
Not to jump ahead, because this doesn't give anything away, but Joan Mir did finish last again.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't show it that way in the results, then it's just because it was a sprint race today. He got a long lap penalty.
Yep.
Chose not to take it. They gave him a second long lap penalty. And as far as I could tell, I mean, they never showed him on camera, but there was only 3 laps left when he got the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe he took either one of them.
Interesting. I wasn't even really paying attention to that, honestly. So my Wi-Fi was really, really bad. So I was watching. You know, I swear, let me off motorcycles for a second here. Sorry. You know, if you want to pause it, skip ahead 15 seconds, go ahead. But it makes me very upset that Wi-Fi has only gotten faster, but videos have only required more internet speed. Right. And so like, I'm like, you know, this is worse quality than if I had just watched this 10 years ago with slow internet and poor video quality, because right now it's like so blurry that I couldn't even tell if there were bikes on the track at points. It was bad. Anyway, that's my rant there.
Yeah. Now you know how it feels to look at the world through my eyes.
And you're racing motorcycles?
Yeah.
I hope no one ever cuts you off in a corner. Just
I think hopefully they don't ever have like eye tests and stuff.
Well, they do when you renew your license at a certain age.
Hopefully not on motorcycles. That
all right.
One of the guys we was racing with in round 3,
mm-hmm.
we went to head out together. We were gonna go hit the track together, and he's like, and he stops and he's like yelling, wanting somebody to bring him his glasses. He had forgot to put them on. And he's like, I can't see anything without these. And I was like, yeah, me neither. And he's just kind of looking at me. He asked me after, you don't wear glasses? I said, no, I do. You didn't have any on. I know. Sometimes you got to drive by Braille a little bit.
Do you want to hear Joan Mir's response to the race?
Give me the Grassini seat.
Well, he said, all right, I'll just read you his quote real quick. He says, after this morning, we decided to go one direction for the race, and at the start, I almost made contact with Morbidelli, which meant I lost a big opportunity to recover more positions in the first corners. From then, I recovered a few positions. I enjoyed the race more. The feeling on the front was better, and I was able to ride the bike how I wanted. I got as high as passing Stefan, but then I got the long lap penalties for touching the green at the end of the last corner. The message appears in Sector 1, where you can't really look at the dashboard in MotoGP, so I saw just seeing an orange light. I then did the long laps, but it was very complicated. I know tomorrow can be better. You know, I wish they would just not make things up. All these riders, when they do something not good, they're like, I know we can do better tomorrow. It's like, no, you're not going to do any better tomorrow. Sorry.
I know he isn't.
But
And it is not something to brag about that you could beat the test rider
no,
of your own Honda team.
no, it's not. Did you notice their changes though?
Yes.
They get some stuff coming up there. I know the announcer said something about exhaust changes. They seem to notice a lot of stuff, which I know that's Simon's whole
That's
job.
all
But
coming from Crayfar because he's down there in the pits studying them.
yeah, and he used to race and all that. So, but they had that like very obvious kind of spoiler tail up thing at the back, which should help with their rear grip problems they've been having. And then Stefan Bradl had some giant silver box on the back of his bike.
So staying with that, we can go back to that. But you seen KTM was running a full carbon fiber frame on Danny Pedrosa's bike.
Was it them? I heard someone mention something about carbon fiber frame. I thought it was Yamaha, but KTM makes more sense.
So I think KTM. My understanding was Danny Pedrosa's bike had the carbon fiber frame,
Mm-hmm.
and Aprilia is also playing with the idea.
Interesting. Okay.
And so they were saying these guys are stepping it up again. Ducati is the last one to have tried that. So
Yeah, I know that was like a thought for a little bit, and then the carbon fiber was just not quite stiff enough that it didn't. It wasn't. I think it was consistency, if I remember right. Like it didn't always bend the same. It didn't always react the same.
right from
And
bike to bike.
so, yeah, so like sometimes it was great. And obviously, it's lighter weight. It's just as strong. Whatever. We know all the benefits, but the downside was that the riders would go into a corner and be fine, and then take the corner the next lap same way and feel completely off, completely different because it would just react differently all over the place. So at least that's my understanding. I'm not a carbon fiber expert, but
So they said the last time Ducati tried it on track, they were
Mhm.
the last ones to try it. They said it was 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And I'm
Sounds
sure
about
that
right.
technology has come a long ways too.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that there are always things going on in the background, and there's like different carbon fiber blends and blah 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 blah. So it'll be. I'm excited for Monday. We'll probably end up talking about that next week, depending on what happens next week, maybe a couple weeks from now. But what comes out of the test for the 2024 bikes, kind of, I think that's all I'm really going to be paying attention to because it seems like if you watch that for the timing to see who puts down the laps, it doesn't really matter. Like you can use that for your first few weeks of like fantasy if you're playing MotoGP fantasy next year. If you start to pay attention now at who's looking good or and like things like that, then sure. But beyond that, it's just testing for the teams. So they're really just there to gather data. They're not there to set record lap times. So,
Right.
well, I was going to say Ducati, they had their little fork-mounted wings going on.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of interesting. I really question how much all these things do.
I
Like,
don't know. So we mentioned a minute ago about Joanne Mir, big deal if you can pass Stefan Bradl.
mm-hmm.
How bad do you think Brad Binder wanted to pass Danny Pedrosa?
Probably pretty bad.
I think I
Probably
was.
pretty bad.
They're lucky there wasn't a couple more laps because I think he was going to push the issue.
Yeah. So Stefan Bradl specifically, as long as I've been watching, hasn't ever really been great when he's out there racing. Not that he's a bad rider. He's there as a test rider, so it's not really his job to go win races. But he's never like, yeah, if your factory rider or even your satellite rider is behind Stefan Bradl, usually that's a bad sign. Danny Pedrosa, that guy can still ride a bike.
Absolutely.
Like they talk about it and they're like, man, maybe he's regretting retiring, whatever. Maybe Honda's regretting not keeping him on their team, blah blah blah. But like, you watch him come out. This is his second time this year, and he can. I mean, Mark followed him around to get it into Q2, so
So you
clearly he can
seen,
still ride.
for those at home that maybe haven't watched the race and are looking for the spoilers, Danny Pedrosa was behind Bagnaia for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see his comment after he said he's gotten a little rusty on the overtaking?
I didn't catch that. No.
I thought that was funny because he had him a couple times. He
Yeah,
had him a couple times. Probably.
Yeah, no, he was. I mean, he was like right up there with them, and they did mention a good comment that I heard was that he's a clean racer and he's also a test rider, and he knows that Bagnaia is sitting in first, and if he gets wrecked out, then that's gonna take him down. So,
I did hear a comment on a podcast. I won't mention the name of the podcast, but I'll say you would have appreciated it. They said when Bagnaia got ran over last week by Bender,
mm-hmm.
they said for him to come out of that without any injuries, they're like, he may really be a robot. Those may be mechanical legs. And I went, who says that all the time?
Yeah,
Who
weird.
says Bagnaia is a robot?
Weird. No, I was laughing about that with the wife today because she was talking about Bezecchi or something. One of the two that had pretty big injuries, and how the commentators. She's like, if their painkillers are going to wear off by the end of the race, they either
They
need
need
a
some.
lot more painkillers or those painkillers don't work, right? Or something like that. I was like, yeah, but you got to realize that these dudes are paid to hype up the race. So they're like, there's times you hear them be like, yeah, man, that guy's dead. And he's still out there pushing that bike like nobody's business, blah, blah,
Nope.
blah. And it's just,
There was one of the worst ones. One of the worst ones happened during the sprint race. I thought
which one
about
was
you when
that?
I heard it. Lap 1, corner 3, probably. I mean, we're talking early.
Right at the beginning. Okay.
Bagnaia snuck past Bezzecchi.
Mm-hmm.
And did you hear them say, Bezzecchi's, oh, it's got to be killing him?
I didn't catch it then. No, I didn't
His,
catch it till later.
yeah, his wrist or whatever injury. It's got to be killing
Yeah.
him. I'm like, they just started, man. They haven't even really figured out the lineup yet.
Yeah.
You know, they're still kind of jockeying for position. Nothing's settled down yet.
Yeah.
That's his wrist. I don't
Yeah.
know. I
I
heard
don't
an
know.
announcer in the Moto America race today. Definitely don't want to mention that guy's name, but he went off on a tangent. Somebody like the bike slipped or moved, and he just went, that rider right now, he's thinking, I've got a little loose there, and the guy in front of me, he's got this different tire on, so I should probably just slow down, and then I'm going to follow him. And then about 4 laps in, that's when I should probably turn it up. And he just kept going and going and going. I'm like, you didn't only read his mind, man. You read the whole script. It's
Yeah.
like, how do you know what
Have
that
you
guy's thinking 4 corners
have you
into the
been in that
future?
scenario before or something? Like,
I mean, and I get some of them probably have been, but I
yeah.
don't think they can. Speaking of announcers, if you ever get the chance at home or anything, and you just want to hear what great announcers sound like, just watch one of the Moto E rounds.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
have to. You don't have to enjoy the motorcycle. You don't have to enjoy electric bikes. You don't have to just listen to the commentators they have for that.
Well, they have to be good because there's no noise in the background.
Those commentators get so excited about nothing. You
That's
know,
good.
somebody will come around the corner and they're screaming. You know, it's like the last touchdown in the Super Bowl. They go nuts on every single corner. I love it, actually.
That's what you want. Yeah. I don't know, man. It was kind of a boring race, I think. It always cracks me
Wade,
up.
I
The
don't.
riders can be injured, and man, that injury, it's insane that they're pushing through there. But then they're out there still running like insane lap. Like obviously Bagnaia is fine. I wouldn't have
So
expected him to do any better if he wasn't quote unquote injured. And I'm not trying to like disregard him at all, but they definitely take that a step further than it needs to go.
agreed. I do believe he was hurting. If you watched him pull into the
No,
podium or whatever they call it,
yeah.
he didn't want off the bike. He just
The whole weekend they had to put his they had to engage the launch control or whatever, the rear ride height device, sorry. They had to engage that just for him to get off the bike.
yep.
And then the
Yeah,
whole weekend he was like limping upstairs and all that. Yeah.
I'm sure he was hurting, and I'm not taking anything away, and I don't believe you are either. Of the pain these guys are racing in, it's just the commentating is the funny part of it.
Yeah.
But I would challenge you. I don't agree with you on the race being so-so. The sprint race, just from Brad Bender's perspective,
Mhm.
guy is starting what, 4th, 5th,
Yeah.
screws up the start,
Mhm.
takes him all the way back down to 10th, you know, right
Mhm.
off the line, and then had to come
Not
back through everybody. And I mean, I would have thought you found it a lot more exciting because there was some bar banging with Mark. Danny Pedrosa ran into Mark. I mean, they were touching, pushing, leaning on each other.
so like I said, my internet speed was not up to par. So I might have been missing a lot of stuff. A
Oh,
lot of
you
key
might want to go
details in
back and
there.
watch that
I
because
might have to.
Brad Bender rode like a man possessed. And I kept thinking, I mean, Brad Bender, I'm quickly becoming a bigger fan. I know you
Yeah.
are as well,
Oh
but
yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to I mean, it seems like the underdog fight, you know, and maybe that's just because I built him up in my head as an underdog, but he kind of came out of nowhere this season. Like he was a one-off guy, like he'd do okay randomly, and they'd be like, "Man, Brad Bender, right? He's the future of." We've talked about that before, but then this season, like he's following it up. Now they're talking about him like he's been racing for 20 years and he's the best breaker in the world, and good luck out breaking Brad Bender. I'm like, he just started doing that 3 races ago. Like what?
well,
But I
I
mean, he's keeping
you
it
get
up.
your
So
get your Wi-Fi fixed and maybe go watch that again because I know we had a argument episodes ago about Brad Bender versus Jack Miller and who was getting more sideways.
mhm.
Brad Bender gets the trophy. He had that bike
Mhm.
so sideways today when he was
Yeah.
behind Danny trying to. Like I said, I was thought Danny, that guy's possessed. He doesn't want to lose to you. you better get your 37-year-old self out of the way, or you're going to be going to the hospital.
You know, back on Pedrosa for a second, the samurai, if you will. You said that he said something about his passing not being as good or not
Rusty.
rusty. Yeah, there you go. There's the
Overtaking
word.
was rusty.
How much has the overtaking been changed by Aero since he retired?
A lot. And I mean, according to the riders, it's almost impossible to pass. You know,
Yeah,
you talk about subjects too, where announcers just get on something. That used to be all they talked about for
yeah,
3 or 4 races was nobody can pass anymore. And then now you hear some of the riders like Aleix last week. Aleix talking about Bastianini running into everybody,
mm-hmm.
said, you can't do it all at the first. There's plenty of opportunities to overtake. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure Aleix was one of the main ones saying in current MotoGP, you cannot pass.
Yeah, you can't pass. And last week, him and Aprilia and everything was amazing. And then this week, something's wrong with the bike. Crazy. Yeah. Well, I don't know. That just struck a string with me, thinking about Pedrosa and being rusty, but also how much the bikes have changed. And I believe that there definitely is more. I mean, you put more aero on a bike, a car, or whatever, there's going to be more turbulence behind it. And part of that is there's like a couple parts to that. One, like, okay, it's just naturally what's going to happen. Two, how many teams are doing that stuff on purpose to make it harder to pass their bikes? And then three, what does that mean for the future of MotoGP? And are they going to start going stupid like F1, where they have to? It's too hard to pass, so we have to change the rules and make everything all crazy. That's my biggest fear with Aero. Is
Agreed.
it's not that Marc Marquez can't hang. It's not that you're going to have robot riders. It's that Dorna's going to have to come in and start putting rules and regulations all over the freaking place to make it so that the racing is still fun. And I'd rather they just build insane bikes, which I guess Aero has to be there to get that power. We're still hitting new lap times. We're still doing all that. So it feels like a no-win situation. You can either stay in the 2010s or we can keep going the way we're going and hope that the teams stay smart about it so Dorna doesn't have to interfere too much. But
you realize, I don't know if we talked about that on here, but you know, Gigi Dell'Igna from Ducati. He's been out saying that they need to slow the bikes down. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
He said they need to slow the bikes down. Did we talk about that?
I don't think so.
He publicly said maybe they need to think about lowering the CCs to 850.
Interesting.
But
would they really slow them down?
No, it wouldn't, because now they'd get faster in other areas. They'd carry more corner speed because they don't have the power to come out of the straight, so they'd find ways to make it up in other places. It'd probably change it very little, first off. Second off, if you want to slow the bikes down, just take the fins off of them.
Yeah. And if you make them go slower.
He's the guy that created the fins. So I don't know what he's talking about. He's the one that's bringing Aero all the time. He's the one that started this.
I was looking up, because I didn't remember there being a limit for horsepower in MotoGP.
Not to my knowledge, as long as they homologate the motor, the engine.
Yeah, which is why, but now I'm seeing 240, 240, 240, which that sounds way too low. In December 2nd, 2016, someone said there is no BHP limit in the formula, unlike in other classes. So instead of hard limit on power, they have to theoretical one in that, blah, blah, blah. MotoGP bike typically delivers around 250, as much as 280. I'm pretty sure, but the first hit was from December 16th to 22. MotoGP class is powered by a 1,000cc engine with a maximum of 4 cylinders that produce up to 240 horsepower with a top speed of 225 miles per hour.
What year was that?
That was last year, 2022. So anyway, I don't think there's a power limit. I can do a little bit more research into that besides just this, if we don't need to. But that was my thought, was if they lower the CC to 850, are they going to bring a power limit in? Because would that really, pretty sure the engineers are just going to be like, okay, take it another 4,000 RPM. Like, make it produce the same power with a smaller engine, which, I mean, you still be lighter weight and things like that, but anyway, I mean, I know that's not necessarily what all he meant by that, but
I don't think it makes sense. We have a whole generation. They've made those changes in the past. I mean, that wouldn't be the first time they changed the CC level for sure, but I think right now you got to leave it.
Yeah. Well, especially because your 600 and 750cc bikes are going away, or your 600 super sports are going away, all being replaced. The 1,000cc, like, screaming sport, like, that's a sport bike now. That's all you really have is a leader bike. That's within the next 3 years, I'm willing to bet that's your option. You either go buy a leader bike or you have to buy something else. So
A Yamaha YABZDB.
yeah, the Yamaha alphabet. Good job.
So in the sprint race, Jack
Mhm.
Miller was non-existent.
He wasn't really existing all weekend.
So he was consistently slow. I don't know. Did you hear the latest rumor with him?
No.
The latest rumor with him is that KTM has offered him twice his salary to become a test rider and make room for Pedrosa or Acosta, excuse me.
Interesting. Okay.
And he was asked about it this weekend, and they said, is there any truth to that rumor? Blah, blah, blah. And he looked at him and said, well, that sounds pretty stupid, doesn't it? But I'm pretty sure the KTM guys, it's based in reality. It's coming from the KTM brass. It just hasn't gotten to Jack yet, apparently.
Yeah. That I don't know if that is stupid. I mean, that twice the salary. You still get to ride bikes. Opens them up for racing more in Australia. And I
I
don't
mean,
want Jack to leave MotoGP. Don't get me wrong. But like he's just got married, he's got a kid on the way.
that's why it seems to have substance, the rumor.
And a test rider could, unless KTM's just trying to get him off the seat nicely and they're going to contract him as a test rider for 2 years and then dump him. But a test rider I feel like, has more likelihood to stick around for a long time.
Well, that's true.
And
But
Jack would make a hell of a test rider, just saying.
I think
Because
so.
you say
But
he can ride anything, like what better guy for a test rider than someone that can just hop on anything and go put down good lap times.
but I think it's kind of a slap in the face. The dude's hungry.
Yeah.
He wants to win races. That's what he's there for. He's not just finishing out some career. He's still got a fire in his belly. He still wants to win.
Somewhere, yeah. I mean, this season he's kind of fallen off, but there's also a point, you can't blame people too much because you get 100, 200, or 150 points behind the leader. I mean, you got to be realistic with yourself. And then what's the point? If you're going out there and take that with a grain of salt, I understand, I'm coming from a weird angle here because you're a motorcycle racer. You get paid to go try and win races. And every win, you still get a trophy. You still get a win. That looks awesome. You get points for your team, and all of that. But there's also a point where it's like, he does have a kid on the way. He did really well at the beginning of the season. He knows he can ride the bike well. Then he started to kind of fall off. Why not just kind of ride the bike safe, finish out the season? You got a contract for next year still. KTM's like, I don't think they can really come out and just break that without paying him a lot of money, which is probably why those rumors are starting to surface. Plus, it's near the end of the year where everyone wants to make rumors for everything anyway. But I don't blame Jack too much. Not worried about him. I think he's going to come back hot at the beginning of next season. I think there'll just be another question next season of whether or not he can keep that through the season. So
I guess that's fair enough. But there is big win bonuses if you win.
that is true. Speaking of,
And I don't think it's about the money with him at this point. He wants to
no,
race. He wants to win.
yeah, I don't know if there are too many people in MotoGP that have finished within the top 10 that it's about money. I think, and we've talked about how MotoGP gets paid so little. Take that out of the equation, they still get paid a lot of money. I don't think any of them are there for the money.
Maybe Maverick Vinales.
Maybe.
At times.
Maybe. I don't know. I know you're not a huge Top Gun fan there, but
Well, he's coming on. He's racing right now, but take out the most recent. He was at Yamaha. He was winning, and when he couldn't be the top, he kind of got the attitude, I don't want to play anymore.
mhm.
If he didn't think he could be the number one at everything, then he just wanted to take his stuff and go home. That piss poor attitude got worse and worse and worse, deteriorated the relationship between both of them. Then we went to the infamous firing.
Yep. That
And
is still
then
talked about today.
Yeah, when he came back to Aprilia, it took me a while to even think he wanted to be there for any other reason than a paycheck.
My opinion of Maverick and Aleix both is that they both need to get the hell out.
I know you want to see your beloved Aprilia on top, but
It's not that. I think they're plenty capable of doing well, but they're not capable of winning. And it's not even, they could be on Hondas right now. They could be on Ducatis right now, and I think I would say the same thing.
Aleix has
They
won 2 races in the last 4.
they have been, yeah, but he did that last year. He did that the year before that.
Hey, that's the first time he's ever won 2 races in a year. So he's improving. By the time he's
Okay.
60, he ought to be champion.
Next year he'll win 2 races. And the year after that, 2 races. And then maybe he'll win 3. I went back and watched a lot of old races, and I kept seeing their names, and I was like, what the, holy cow. I'm talking 2014, 2015 type of races, and Aleix was there. Maverick's been around not quite as long, but quite a while also. And there's a point where if you're not proving anything, if I didn't have hope for Mark, I'd say you should get out of here. Rossi about 2 years before he retired. His last 2 years, you heard me say it. He shouldn't be here anymore. He's doing himself a disservice. He's making a disgrace of himself out there, which he didn't really
He
because he
didn't
was
make a
still
disgrace of himself by any means, but
no,
he was taking a seat from a younger rider that could have got the
yeah,
opportunity.
right. And there is a point where people just hang on for too long. They don't need to be there anymore. Why doesn't Aleix go be a test rider for Aprilia? It'd be better for him. He's got a family. I don't
Obviously.
care. Yeah. Well, anyway, hey, speaking of salaries, I found an interesting. Where did it go? No. Hang on. I was Googling before the episode to just make sure we had some things. Because I always like to see what Google has. So I typed in Moto America news, and right down below it has people also ask, how much do Moto America superbike riders make? And I was like, that's an interesting question. We've talked about that a little bit. So I clicked the down arrow, and this is from MotoAmerica.com. Superbike Premier entrants receive a guaranteed purse distribution of $3,500 for each of the 20 Superbike races, which totals $70,000 for the 2022 season. That was posted on March 25th, 2022. So that was last year. That's from MotoAmerica.com. So it's not just like made up out of nowhere, but it is saying, I think, if you're riding the like Superbike, this what is it, Mission this year?
Yep. Medallia Superbike.
Yeah, Medallion. Thank you. You make $3,500 a race.
Nice. You need to add more races. That's a $7,000 weekend.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like 70,000 a year just to ride motorcycles. Well, yeah, put me on a bike, I'll go do it. Obviously, there's a reason that not anyone could do that, and hopefully they're getting money from other places and whatnot. But
Well, let's go back to MotoGP and finish that up.
all right,
So Jorge Martin won the sprint race. It'll be interesting to see if he can do that again tomorrow and do the double.
mm-hmm.
But Bezzecchi has got something for him, it looks like to me.
Yeah,
If they can hold it together. He was right there running with him. I think he was probably disgruntled when Martin got to go home with the track record instead of him.
yeah, I thought Top Gun was probably mad about that the whole time.
He's always mad about something.
Yeah,
But Jorge Martin won the race. Bezzecchi came in second.
mm-hmm.
Bagnaia held on for third with the hard charging Danny Pedrosa behind him in fourth, and
Right behind him. Yeah,
right behind him, Rusty on the passing, overtaking because he should have overtook him, and Brad Binder getting ready to eat both of them.
yep.
With that couple more laps, I think Brad Binder probably could have finished that podium spot, but that's neither here nor there. It'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow when Brad gets a better start, I'm sure.
Yeah, he should get a better start for sure. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see tomorrow, period, because Pedrosa was right behind Bagnaia, and Bagnaia's hurt. He's hurting. He's out there. He's Bezzecchi's hand, okay, but Bagnaia's like leg. I'll actually give him a lot of credit for riding the bike as well as he did with that.
I mean, it got ran over. Nobody can deny that.
Yeah, bro, like that was pretty. Yeah, but yeah, it'll be an interesting race tomorrow to see if he can hold it out for the whole race. I don't want to sound like a commentator here and be like, man, he's got to be in a lot of pain, but there is actually that. Pedrosa's a good racer. Binder will probably be right there with him, if not well in front of him. Possibly, maybe, I don't know. I could easily see Bender just hitting the front right off the bat like he has so many times.
Yep.
This season, it seems like, from 15th, Yeah, it should be a good race tomorrow. Unfortunately, like we said, we apologize not being able to cover it this week due to scheduling. But, yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Moto America.
Moto America.
Because Moto America, there's there's some big storylines over there that I want to touch on.
I only got to watch the Stock 1000 race today. Moto America, if you're listening, please fix your app.
Please.
Somehow. Do something.
Let me tell you what I had to do today. I don't know if it was the app's fault or not, but I did watch the Superbike race.
Mm-hmm.
But I waited and I waited and I waited because it would never post.
Right.
Then I just got the little whiz wheel of death forever.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get it to go off. And so I was like, I wonder if this thing's on YouTube. I hop on there. I could watch it on YouTube before I could watch it on the app I pay for. And that's not right.
Yeah, the fact that, you pay for the app. The app is one, like, yesterday I was trying to watch qualifying from Stock 1000, so on Friday, and I pulled it up, and I put it on my TV, And I think I was watching live Stock 1000 qualifying from Houston, but the title of my video on my phone said Pittsburgh. It said Pittsburgh at the top of my TV, and it had Pittsburgh like somewhere else. And so I was like, what is going on? And it took me until the end of qualifying to figure it out. I realized that it was Houston all along. And I was like, oh, okay, well, now it's over. So,
Hmm.
you know, anyway, yeah, their app it's rough.
So
But
here's the storylines I wanted to talk about, though.
okay.
One, Stefano Mesa, who races Tyler Cycles super sport bike.
Super sport. Okay.
He also races an electric bike in the hooligans class.
Mm-hmm.
Stefano Mesa took Cameron Bobier's seat at Tyler Cycle,
Today.
the big BMW. And I thought, so I love Stefano Mesa. He's a Colombian guy
Mhm.
from Florida. Very interesting just to hear him talk the struggles. I've heard him on a lot of interviews in the past, and
Mm.
it's always been a struggle for him just to get to races.
Right.
Most years he ends up skipping like the West Coast. Well, maybe that a lot of years he just can't afford to come out and do Laguna and the Ridge, so he just stays over there. But the guy can ride any bike they stick him on, and he
Okay,
got
yeah. Seen
he
him
got
now.
called up to fill in for Cameron Bobier, and I thought, well, that's cool.
Well, all
But
right then.
he's already racing 2 classes, and he's 3rd place in Super Sport.
Okay.
He doesn't have the ability to climb the ranks anymore. Like
Mhm.
he's locked out in points, but he is holding that 3rd place spot.
Mhm.
So when this offer came in, they gave him a choice, or he had to talk to his teams, and they told him he needed to drop one of his classes.
Right.
He chose to drop Super Sport
Mhm.
and race the Energica electric bike in hooligans, I think is what that's called.
I haven't
So he
followed the hooligans at all. Sorry.
so he drops the Super Sport bike,
Yep. Okay.
the 3rd place, mind you, Super Sport bike. I mean, this is a good team. He's won races this year, and it's a good bike, right? Good bike, good team.
Yeah.
Kayla Yakov got the call.
Okay. Yeah.
Kayla Yakov got to do her first Super Sport race.
Mhm.
So, I mean, she's been over in Europe handing people their you-know-whats. She's been
Yeah.
winning races over there. She's been doing awesome.
Yeah.
And so they brought her. She's here. She jumped on the Tyler cycle bike. She went out and qualified, I think, 16th, which there's a
I
lot of
can.
bikes in that class.
Yeah. There's 29 from the look of it.
So right out of the box, that was great. I would also note that is not only hers, but okay, let me back up a little bit. So normally Moto America goes to COTA with MotoGP.
Right.
When
True.
they do that, there's not time for all the other classes to run. So the Medallia Superbikes are the only bikes that end up going for that weekend.
So it was pretty much everyone's first weekend at COTA.
Yeah, so
First
you've got all
first
these
time.
kids. If they haven't done a track day, if they haven't done, some other series there, it's their first time. And then add to that, I mean, we know a guy that was dealing with these same problems,
Mhm.
but add to that track is so long that
Yeah.
if they give you a 1 hour session or whatever for warm up, or 30 minutes or whatever they're doing for your class, you don't get that many laps. So you don't get to see the corners as much as you would on a track
Yeah.
half that size. So
I'll also point out that COTA's not a
not an easy track.
no, and my only experience with it thus far is on a video game. So take that for what it's worth. But even on a
And
video
watching
game,
MotoGP live there,
sure. But I'm saying like watching a race, even on
neither one of those
camera.
are on track. So
Yeah, right. Like watching a race live, watching a race on camera, you never get a feel for the track. You and I both know that. You don't get a feel for the track until you ride it. I will say that I think a video game gets you at least a little bit closer, or watching like some live footage from like track view. But Coda is like, there are some weird corners there. I want to go
mhm.
ride it real bad because I like technical tracks. I think it would be fun, but there's not like a single part of it where it makes sense. It's just all over the place. It's not a flowy track. It's just purely like, no, you're gonna go right. You're gonna do it again. Now you're gonna fly left. Now you're gonna have this stupid long, super high speed corner. Now a hairpin. Now a 300-mile-an-hour straight, almost not quite, but super long straight, and then another hairpin. Like it's just anyway. I can't imagine going there for the first time for a race weekend and doing anything close to good. So very impressive for everyone there.
Kayla did awesome in race 1. We'll see what she does tomorrow. She's making improvements every time she's touched the track. And I think that's pretty cool to see. She's just barely old enough to ride that bike.
Okay.
So that's her. And then Stefano Mesa, he won his Energica, or he was on the podium in the hooligans class.
Yeah, it took second.
Yeah. Also his first time at that track. So he's learning the track. He's learning the Tyler Cycle Superbike. This had to be a busy weekend for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he finished 11th in Superbike.
Yeah. Hang on. Ninth.
So
there were a lot of. I didn't catch a Superbike race. Am I missing something there? There were 4 did not starts and 7 did not finishes.
I didn't get to see if it was related or not, but there's poor Heron. He had a mechanical.
Okay.
There was a lot of, so it's been like up to like 106 degrees there.
It was hot. Well, I mean, yesterday when I was watching qualifying, they said 108 ambient. And then today they said track temp was 110. But I don't know if that was like the asphalt temperature or if that was ambient down at the track.
Probably. Because the track's probably way hotter than that.
Yeah, I would hope. I was like, well, it cooled down a lot, or you guys are still talking ambient.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, we've been there when it's 95. And
I don't even know if it was even that warm. We were
know,
there in
miserable.
April. Yeah, no, it was hot, but I'm pretty sure it was only 80s.
It's a dry heat.
Yeah, and that's worse. You know, dry heat, dry rain, dry snow. That stuff will really get you.
Dry snow. That's the greatest snow on earth.
Yeah. Oh man.
But no, that was exciting. You know, I've had a few little texts back and forth with our friend, and it's hot.
I believe it. Yeah.
Dealing with the track for the first time. Said the track wasn't bad. I'm excited to talk to him some more about that. He did have, I don't know if you caught that when you watched that, but he did have an extremely awesome start.
Oh, I don't know. It's hard. It is so hard in Moto America, I feel like, because the riders, a lot of them look very similar.
I agree.
Especially a lot of the privateers.
Yes. There you go. Well, he made, I believe
he
made
a
up
little bit.
No, he made up 6 spots into turn 1. He was up 6 places.
That's the other freaking thing with Moto America is they didn't even get their freaking tree on until like the 6th lap. And then they just flashed it whenever. I think they were having, maybe it's because of the heat, but I think they were having transponder issues because it would just come up when they crossed the start-finish straight, and then by the first sector, it'd be down again.
And I also wish sometimes they need to, Moto America or MotoGP doesn't do it enough either, but I want to see, I know there's not room on the screen for everybody sometimes, but I wish more often, because they do that sometimes, but more often I wish they'd cut like a segment out and go from like 10th straight to 20th and everybody else. Just every once in a while, just to blink in.
Yeah, to bring them up.
Because I want to know how bad Joe Amir's doing.
I wouldn't even be too mad about a double wide. Get their names out of there a little bit more and just put it twice as wide with 2 rows.
Yeah, I'd like to see.
I mean, TVs are getting bigger and bigger. We got room.
That's true. That is true. What are you going to say?
I mean, I guess other people are getting older and older and can't see anymore, so they need the bigger TV to keep up.
That's what I do. So yeah, Moto America looked exciting. The championship's over in the Medallia Superbike, so I honestly focused in a little more on the other classes today.
Okay. Yeah.
Wasn't as worried about what was going on up there.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Gagne took it again anyway, so what do you know? Crazy. Yeah, I will say I was thinking about it today. It's nearing the end of season for everything. I know that because I invited someone over to watch a race tomorrow. So Sunday, the race. He's like, well, I'll probably be home watching football. I was like, football. Preseason? He's like, no, it's actually week 1. I was like, that means my season's almost over and I have to deal with listening to people talk about football at work all day. So, but, you know, it got me thinking, you know, at the beginning of the year, we were talking, this is going to be an amazing Moto America season. Everyone go watch, blah, blah, blah. And we kind of let you guys down a little bit on that, I think. But I will make a promise that next year, all around, I think MotoGP is going to be sweet. I think there's going to be a lot of people that should be back on their feet. There'll be a little bit of shuffling around, and some manufacturers should have spice things back up. I really hope. And I hope because Yamaha needs to be back in the picture a little bit. and Honda needs to be back in the picture a little bit.
I
I
think
think
that
Honda might be closer to that than Yamaha because I heard that Quartararo went back to his bike from 2021.
yep.
So that's a big step back.
It's not so much the bike, just the baseline settings. He said at this point of the season, he said, you guys have done everything you could with the bike. You've changed it up, you've changed it down multiple times. We've made it left, we've made it right. And he said, the only thing you've done is made it, he said, every time you touch the bike, it turns worse and worse and worse. That was our strong point in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded to me like he'd rather go way, way back. But the problem is, it's not way, way back. Turns good, but it's not fast enough to keep up.
Right.
The new
Yeah.
bike can't do either.
I know. Well, that was the thing, though. Is at the beginning of the season we were talking about Franco for a second because Bezecchi said he kept up with him on the straight, and that was the question: was had Yamaha finally figured out their power issue and just can't handle it now? But it doesn't. I don't know. I hope that Morbidelli sees some improvement wherever he ends up.
So let's go full circle real quick while we're on Morbidelli.
Okay.
Earlier, you said the Joan Mir statement was that he got tangled up with Morbidelli.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see how that happened because did you see Morbidelli like pretty much stalled his bike?
At the start, yeah.
He was like a corner behind everybody at the start.
Yeah, because he got stuck on the start for. I didn't see it, but I heard him talking about it.
So unless Joan Mir was right behind him or something, and that screwed him up.
He still passed Mir, Brattle, Nakagami, Pirro, and Augusto Fernandez. Augusto Fernandez, the guy that has proven that he belongs in MotoGP.
Come on.
I don't know. I mean, I can't say that Raul is doing too much better, but Raul did better than Oliveira this weekend, or Saturday anyway.
KTM would have more money if Pole wasn't riding one of their bikes.
Yeah.
He crashed 3 of them this weekend, I believe.
Well, he tried to make it so that he couldn't do that anymore, and then luckily he came back from that one, and now, yeah. I was laughing at that too, though, because Jack wrecked a bike at one point this weekend, and then came back. I think it was in qualifying. Came back in and was able to get back out there on a bike, but it didn't ever finish it up. Maybe it was at the end of practice. It was at the end of practice. I didn't watch qualifying, but I was just like, man, those are like $500,000 motorcycles, and these guys just dump them and then walk off. Which I know they're not allowed to pick them up or whatever, but like, can you imagine you're out racing in Utah, USBA, and you just dump your Suzuki or your BMW, corner one right off the start, just gone, and you're like, man, all right, hike back to your tent, grab your next one, and just go again.
It would be nice.
Yeah. I would like to see what because they've always got the second bike there. They can use that. That's great. But I would love to see what the mechanics do when they actually bring it back. And they're like, what did you do with this thing? Like, all you did was, which his laydown was they said something and you could notice it too. His front wheel guy was kind of bouncing on him and then just finally said like one hard bounce too much and gave out and a nice low side. But I've seen the damage a small low side can do. I just can't imagine being the mechanic that every week, like, another one. There's another one and another one. Because it seems like almost every rider is dropping at least one bike a weekend, which I know that's true. That's a very big exaggeration, but it kind of feels like it sometimes. So
I don't know. Mark makes up for the ones that don't. I had to say it. He's been doing a lot better that way, but still.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
He's had some weekends, though.
Oh, yeah. No. He definitely did.
He's had some weekends where I feel terrible for his mechanics.
It might have been Honda telling him like, "Hey, man, freaking stop. We're not gonna win it anyway. Just
we can't develop your new bike. We're constantly fixing your old one."
Yeah. All right. Well, MotoGP again in 2 weeks, right?
No, next week.
Do we have him again next week?
Maybe it's 2 weeks.
I'm pretty sure it's 2.
So there's something we haven't talked about. Also, because I can't talk about it yet because this is what I'm doing after this. But World Superbike is happening this weekend as well.
Okay.
And somebody got the pole.
Who?
Garrett Gerloff.
Oh, baby.
On a BMW.
Right. Oh, man.
He's out there saving his job.
Oh, man. Americans in motorcycle racing.
So speaking of Americans in motorcycle racing, World Superbike, we can talk about that later, but I'm really hoping right now while we're recording this that Garrett Gerloff won that. He was 10 seconds ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Complete domination. The race has already happened, so I don't know. because I haven't watched it yet. But
Where are they right now?
where was they? In
Are they in France?
what's it called?
French?
No, it's a place I can't pronounce, and I don't want to look right now because you'll give away who won.
I mean, it says 10 September Pirelli French round.
Magnacore. Is that doesn't sound like the French round. I thought they were at Magnacore. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But
Okay, sorry.
we've got a no names announcement to make.
Maybe. Yeah. Soft.
I said-
Soft. No names in announcement.
A what?
Soft. Like it. We're not 100% yet, but
We're never 100%.
that's true. That's true. I'll give you that. We're not ever 100%, but yeah. All right. Yeah, go ahead with your announcement.
I was just gonna say we've got stay tuned coming up. Hopefully next week we've got an interview with a great American motorcycle racer. That's
Possibly
not
has the possibility of being the best of all time.
Yeah, I mean, so does any baby born in the United States this year, but he has a more legitimate chance than anybody else we know.
Definitely than you or I. We've got some firsthand experience with that. So, yep. Yeah, stay tuned for that. We're doing what we can. If you've been listening, you should already know, but we're pretty sure we'll have them next week. So, that'll be good.
Yeah, exciting.
And yes, it is. MotoGP is in 2 weeks. You should be arguing with me that it's in 3 and that 2 weeks from now isn't going to happen. But 2 weeks.
India, baby. We're going to India.
For the first time ever, I believe. For the first time in a long time.
First time ever for MotoGP, I think.
Okay.
F1's been there before.
That's right. Looks like a pretty interesting track. Not really. I don't know. It's kind of like a Z. Anyway, yeah, stay tuned for that. That'll be in 2 weeks. Hopefully, good guest next week. The best up and coming American motorcycle racer of all time ever. Definitely faster than me, and most definitely faster than you. And
this is bull crap. You still doing this?
Oh yeah, 100%. And speaking of that, in about a month, we'll be heading to Carolina Motorsports Park.
And we will both be posting our legitimate times on this podcast.
Yes. Yeah, we will come out with actual lap times on an 08 versus an 09 Gixxer 750.
Yes, we will both be posting lap times.
Maybe we'll even swap bikes to see if it's just the bike. Who knows? And then Arizona later in the year. No one commented last week on what you want us to do with the freaking FZ6R. So I lowered the seat.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I did, actually. It was kind of cool. You take your rear seat, your passenger seat off with the key. You have 2 little Allen heads on the back of the seat. You take those off, and the seat comes off.
Okay.
And then you take where those went through. There's a rubber grommet with a metal washer grommet thing. And there's a set of holes on a bracket above it. So you just move those rubber grommets into the bracket above it, which would obviously lower the seat down. So I did that. And then I tried to put the seat down, and the holes didn't line up. I was like, what the? And I look, and on the side, there's like the plastic for the seat's got rubber stops on the bottom of it, 4 of them, right? And the plastic part underneath it that the rubber hits has another little like bolt on either side of it, and you move that forward, and it even says like high and low. So I moved it to the low spot, and it actually dropped the seat like quite a bit, pretty noticeable. Kind of more comfy that way. So interesting, kind of cool design. Perfect. I started to wonder why other bikes don't do that, and I was like, well, I don't actually know if other bikes don't do that, so I can't talk too much crap. So anyway,
I don't think a lot of bikes do that. I know in Harleyland they have the little fitting station in the dealership, so you can try different seats.
Interesting. Here's your $25,000 motorcycle. Would you like to spend another $6,000 for a seat that is half an inch lower or higher?
That's true.
Don't worry. We already know that you spent an extra $5,000 on all your chrome and leather while you were here.
All right. On that note,
we'll call it a night.
We'll call it a night. Like.
Yep.
Subscribe.
Yep.
Comment.
Tell
us what to do with the Yamaha.
Please.
I mean, I've only got like a week. I got a rubber mallet all warmed up and ready to pound the tank down. So
it would make a great stunt bike. So
yeah, see, especially with the seat lowered.
Yeah.
It's more like a trials bike now.
Yeah, we could put knobbies on it.
Okay. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.